ma'am. Good morning, everyone. Here is my group, SoCon, which is presenting our presentation. The group members are Abhyuday Yadav, Anshika Singh, Harsh Goyal, Khyati Singh, Santali Shivhare.
As you can see on the screen, a quote, good communication is just as stimulating as black coffee and just hard to sleep after. This is a quote by Annie Lindbergh, which is about communication is a contrarial balancing act, juggling the conflict needs for intimacy and independence.
What is living conversation? It teaches the skills and practices that help us to transform how we use languages, therefore how we communicate. This process and practices offered in living conversation on impact all aspects of life. From this platform, our communication becomes alive.
We already discussed about the living conversation, so we can understand communication better by the help of living conversation because it is a part of living conversation. So communication is the way of exchanging of information by writing, speaking, or by any other sign. This may sound simple, but communicating is actually a very complex subject.
Here are the few topics that we have learned from that course. Meaning of communication, verbal and non-verbal communication, communication style, hearing and listening, active listening versus passive listening, barrier to effective listening.
Now, it's the time for some questions that we already discussed in our Zoom meeting with our group members.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Anshika Singh, and my question is that what course topics can we take into account for a meaningful group project? The most appropriate project topic can be complication with the nonverbal communication. The topic of our group project of living conversation being the nonverbal communication, I have been given a thought on the complication. It would be for the people who can't speak or perform nonverbal art. The people does not have any of the figure of speeches as an explanatory medium and look forward to express everything through their facial gestures. The world is too harsh for the people like that, who can't express what they feel. Many difficulties of their communication with the normal person spark our interest and led us to try to find a solution to their difficulties and to minimize them as much as possible. Because they represent a significant part of society and they need to deliver their ideas in the simplest way by simple devices. So, our project aims to bridge this gap by enabling communication between speechless people on the one hand and normal people on the other hand by introducing an inexpensive electronic device that translates the finger presses into the text and speeches. Thank you. How can we relate this topic to one day to day life? When we want something from our parents or say our friends, we tend to guess the mood by observing the body language and experiences to sure if it is the right time to do ask for it. We usually prefer to meet someone in person to learn more about their personality. Say for a job opportunity, we see what kind of an energy a person carries. or if they are easy to get along, if they can be trusted. These examples show that nonverbal communication and sign language is used pretty often in our daily life.
What additional preparation is required to complete the group project? The subject covers various topics. Sometimes it gives a topic to research about and then write what we have learned in it. Sometimes it gives podcasts to listen. Sometimes some YouTube videos to watch and with some ads are there on some experiences to learn from or general things to learn about or some lecture videos. It gives a lot of different kind of things that we can research about, and it judges the capability of the student by checking how well they can describe about what they learned in entire process. Not every subject provides this much benefits to student, and by giving group projects, asking us to share some of the life experiences, it gives us a chance to remember what we have learned from them. It gives us a chance to connect to people who we don't know and know their life experiences too.
Now, the fourth question is, how are we going to showcase the group project in form of a final visual presentation? So, to present the concept of this project, that is the power of non-verbal communication, we have prepared an animated video under the idea of EdTech. In this video, we are trying to show how non-verbal communication can influence a large group of people, or in other words, we can say that how without using words, only with the help of body language, we can express thoughts and ideas in a more expressive way that may lead people to develop stronger relationships with others.
How can we support the group in executing a successful group project? We can all play our part fairly, cooperate each other. We all can cover our weaknesses and work on our strength. Team spirit is a very important weapon for the successful group projects.
Now, it's the turn of our group project in the form of an animated video that based on the importance of non-verbal communication or the power of non-verbal communication in our day-to-day life.
We use sign language in our day-to-day life without even realizing it. It is a way of communication in which we use movement of part of body, especially hands or head, to express our ideas or meanings. They can be voluntary or involuntary gestures like waving, saluting, pointing, etc. Non-verbal communication is transmission of messages or signals through a non-verbal platform such as eye contact, facial expression, gesture, posture, and distance between individuals while communicating. Sometimes words are not good enough to express one's ideas and feelings, thoughts. Thus, facial expression and body language play a vital role in a conversation. So let's consider these figures which show different characteristics like happy, excited, etc. while using expression and body language. It becomes easier to communicate with a person when we know about their moods. Non-verbal communication can tell you about your moods and other people's moods too, which help us interpret emotions. We are judged by our action, and it conveys a message that others take away about ourselves. Thus, actions define an individual's personality and social background. Thus, our actions should always match our words. Gestures and symbols both can communicate the information effectively even without any speech. Countable sometimes that you do communication with your intentions or to define others. Some nice symbolic gestures of support, solidarity, goodwill can be salute or thumbs up. Waving to a friend is intentional, while showing of anger or frustration can be involuntary gesture. By observing these pandas, we can almost guess what their thoughts are with the expression and moods. Things like looking, staring, blinking are very important non-verbal behaviors. When we keep eye contact with a person, we indicate that we are focused and are paying attention, which sends a positive response. To further understand the power of non-verbal communication, here are some examples of famous personalities like Helen Keller, Charlie Chaplin, and famous character of
Sir
Mr.
Charles Spencer Chaplin. Most of you have heard him by the name of Charlie Chaplin, who was a British comedian, producer, writer, director, and a composer who is widely regarded as the greatest comic artist on the screen ever seen. And he is the best example of non-verbal communication. Helen Keller was an author, lecturer, and a crusader for the handicapped. She was born in Tuscumbia, Alabama. She lost her sight and hearing due to a illness. The different stages in Helen Keller's life are not easy to define. Being sad, being happy, or being sorrow about anything are just words to define the emotions inside her. But what we doesn't know is the feelings that she feels being blind and deaf.
I'm pregnant. Ross.
Oh, and look, there is still one box that I have to unpack. I gotcha! Oh my God! You almost gave me a heart attack.
So, nonverbal communication contribute greatly to the understanding of messages. Without the presence of nonverbal communication, much of these communications in these scenes would simply have not been possible. So, next time you have something to say, think first how you want to communicate this message. Then ask yourself, will the intended meaning of my message translate across the computer screen? If there's any doubt in your mind that your message may be misinterpreted due to absence of nonverbal communication, stop. Don't press that enter key, but rather meet your friend face to face and say, let's go to coffee house.
Thank you, everyone.